That down, let's talk about this. I don't mind telling you, Ben Affleck has been my favorite Batman. I'm not saying he's been in the best movies with Batman, but I've loved his take and his approach to Batman. I've said this a lot. He's like the one actor who really got that he's not Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is the fake mask. Batman is the real person. And Ben Affleck totally got that. And him and Zack Snyder did the character in such a way that I thought was most true to the spirit of the comic book character that way. But of course, everything went south and all that kind of stuff. And Ben Affleck has talked recently about the fact that he's probably never going to play a superhero character again. But he's just brought up some really interesting, very self-aware comments. And one observation that I think is going to divide a lot of people, but I thought was actually very insightful. Now, the folks over at Variety talking about this thing, the headline being Ben Affleck says, I've lost interest in superhero movies and Batman skewed so old that quote unquote, my son was too scared to watch. Oh shit, we have a problem. So I'm just going to read a couple of things here from it because I think a couple of them are really neat. First of all, is this quote here. There are a number of reasons why that was a really excruciating experience playing Batman, Affleck told GQ, and they don't all have to do with the simple dynamic of, say, being in a superhero movie or whatever. I am not interested in going down that particular genre again. Not because of that bad experience, but I've lost interest in what was of interest about it to me. But I certainly wouldn't want to replicate an experience like that. A lot of it was misalignment of agendas, understandings, expectations. And also, by the way, I wasn't bringing anything particularly wonderful to that equation at the time either. I had my own failings, significant failings in that process and time. I mean, my failings as an actor, you can watch the various movies and judge, he continued, but more of my failings in terms of why I had a bad experience. Part of it was what I was bringing to work every day was a lot of unhappiness. So I wasn't bringing a lot of positive energy to the equation. I didn't cause problems, but I came in and I did my job and I went home. But you've got to do a little better than that. So right off the bat, one of the things I really do like about his statement here is like saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, it was a messy experience, but you want to know what part of the problem was? Me. Now, we now know, as the stories came out, a lot of the behind the scenes struggles and issues that Ben Affleck was having, but him actually saying, I wasn't bringing anything positive to set. I was showing up to work unhappy. And like I didn't cause problems. I did my job, but I love the fact that he's self-aware enough to say, if you want to make a great movie, you got to do better than that. And he's pointing, instead of sitting there throwing other people under the bus or whatever, he's just kind of pointing at himself. And I really like that. Now he goes on to talk about this. He said, Affleck now runs a production company, blah, blah, blah. I want to put together partnerships and filmmakers and cast a studio apparatus that's aligned precisely. That kind of misalignment doesn't happen and you have a much better work experience. While the actor had good moments on set and liked creatively his approach to Batman as a sort of older, broken, damaged Bruce Wayne, a clash started to brew over his Dark Knight and the larger DC universe being too adult. Now, this is where people are going to be divided. What happened was it started to skew too old for a big part of the audience, Affleck said. Like, even my own son at the time was too scared to watch the movie. And when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, we have a problem. Then I think that's when you had a filmmaker that wanted to continue down that road and a studio that wanted to recapture all the younger audience at cross purposes. Then you have two entities, two people really wanting to do something different, and that is a really bad recipe. You know, one of the things, as over the years, as Rob and I have talked about the collapse of the DCEU, even though I like almost every film in the DCEU other than the Harley Quinn movie and other than Wonder Woman 1984. I've liked pretty much every other DCEU movie. But, and I don't think there's anything wrong with skewing darker and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that Rob has always mentioned about the DCEU, and he loves a lot of the movies too, is that a lot of them were absent of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even for the DCEU movies that I love, there's truth to that. You can have darker themes and a heavier movie and still have it's still a comic book movie. You still want to have some shots and elements and moments of joy, you know, and it missed a lot of that. And this sounds to me, what Ben Affleck is talking about is saying, I realized even my own son didn't want to watch this. And so we had filmmaker who wanted to completely take the cinematic universe that way. And then you had a studio's like, but we have to make this accessible to younger audiences as well. You can do both. The option isn't either The Departed or Barney the Dinosaur. There is a middle ground. And I thought that was really insightful of Ben Affleck.
Smoochie.
Yes. You get Death to Smoochie. Dark themes,
well
very
done.
funny and filled with joy. That was perfect analogy, actually. So I thought it was really insightful comments here by Ben Affleck and understanding what a bad experience it was for him. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. Baseball season is officially here, and if you're not running your game on PrizePicks yet, you are seriously missing out. This is daily fantasy made easy, and it's how I keep every pitch exciting. You see, PrizePicks lets you pick more or less on player projections like strikeouts, RBIs, or hits, and that's it. I just cooked up my lineup for this week. I'm taking Shohei Ohtani for more than one home run and Julio Rodriguez for more than one stolen base. Whether it's baseball, basketball, or even esports, you can mix and match players from different sports for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. And the app is super intuitive. It takes under 60 seconds to lock in your picks. And here's a little bonus. Every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday, where you get select player projections at a discount. More value, more fun. So download the app today and use the code Campea to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. Download the app today and use the code Campea to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Anyway, Chris, you read the interview with him and some of his comments. What stood out to you?
Definitely his points about the DCU, of just what that was. Because the big thing in superhero fare is, why am I rooting for you to save this world if you don't even enjoy being in it? That's how I felt watching so many of those. You absolutely can have darker storylines. We see it in comics all the time, right? We can do something fun, wacky, and bombastic, and then we can have some real heartstrings moments. But I need you to want to save the world because you like living in it, and you like your life, and you like the people in it. And I feel like so much of the DCEU before was just gloom and doom and everyone being pretty sour. I also like that he takes ownership over where he was in his career and his life. I think so many times actors will dance around that of saying, well, there was a lot of stuff going on in my personal life at the time, and they make it so it seems like it was other people's fault.
Yeah.
And it's really refreshing to see somebody, especially who's had a very public life, who we've delved into their relationships, who we have just scrutinized how he handled dealing with alcoholism and his marriages and all of that stuff as well. It's nice to see somebody not do the PR move that's a super sanitized, well, I wasn't my best self then. And to actually say, no, I was not in a good space, and I did this. I could have been better. I like that.
I wonder, to your point, if that was the director in him, because he's the boss on so many sets.
Sure.
And that's what he expects of people. And then it's like, well, I'm not bringing what I expect of people.
Absolutely.
So.
And listen, I'm going to speak outside of my expertise here for a second, but in life, I have actually found the people who are most willing to take accountability for their own actions are recovering addicts. And of course, Ben Affleck he's a recovering alcoholic and he's had substance abuse problems. But I've often found in my experience with people who are in recovery and recovering, they're the people who are most usually willing to stand up and say, here's where I was accountable. Here's where it was my fault. And I think that's
steps.
What's that?
It's part of the 12 steps to recovery.
So it's really neat seeing him embracing that and kind of living that out. And, good on him. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about Ben Affleck's comments? I mean, obviously he had for many, many different reasons, he had a terrible experience being Batman, but hearing him explain kind of what he brought to it and what he kind of thought about what the overall direction of the DCEU was versus where he thought it should have gone. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.